Hey Sumo Links, what's up? It's Christy with AppSumo. Happy Friday. It is the freaking weekend. And today we're joined by founder of HeySummit, Ben. Nice to have you here.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yay,
good way
awesome.
to end the week.
For sure. Guys, Ben is an absolute pro at this, so you're in for a treat today. I think we had almost 500 people signed up for the webinar today, so it's going to be a party. Awesome. We already have tons of people saying hi in the comments. They're ready to go. Hey, they are ready to go.
Good to see so many people.
I know. Guys, what I would love for you to do is, if you've already purchased HeySummit, let us know. Or if you're on the fence, also let us know. So that way we can kind of see what kind of presentation we need to give you. But as you're doing that, let me let you know how this is going to go. Right now, you're seeing the both of us. But in a second, I'm going to shut my camera and microphone down. Ben is going to take it away and take you through a demo and walkthrough of HeySummit, the software, its features, all the cool things that you can do with it. If at any point during the webinar you have a question for him, go ahead and put it in the chat box. And then at the end of the demo, I'm going to come back on and ask him your questions live. If you can't make it until the end of the webinar, that's okay, because I'm going to be sending out play, so that way you guys can catch up on what you missed. All right, purchased, on the fence, fence sitting, on the fence. All right, we got some people who are on the fence, Ben, so you gotta do a good job. Okay. The pressure is on. Awesome. So I think I told them how this is going to work. Let's go ahead and make sure your screen sharing works, and then I'll shut my camera down and let you take it away.
Cool. Okay, let's share the screen. And then we'll go from there. So I'm not obviously going to be looking at any comments while I'm doing this because it's on a different window now. So yeah, I'll leave that with you, and then we can check in to that at the end if you need. Of course,
yeah.
Cool. Okay. Let me know when that's working. Lots of.
Yay, we can see it. Awesome. Cool. I'll let you. It's all you. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, look, really is genuinely a pleasure to be here. I'm a bit of an AppSumo veteran, and the thing that always continues to surprise me each time I come back and do something with AppSumo is genuinely the quality of the people, both who work at AppSumo and all of the customers that go through the platform. You are all so well versed in your own worlds and the industry that you're in and technology generally. And it is genuinely just a pleasure to listen to the feedback as we go through the deal and kind of understand where everyone comes from and the things that are important to them. So I hope you've seen a lot of that already, and we've got a couple of weeks left for the deal, I believe. So you will see a lot more of that, of listening, of reacting, of hopefully just improving continually what we do. It's a really important part, I think, and it's worth noting that it's an incredibly powerful platform that we have today. But I promise you, it's only going to get a hell of a lot better, and that will just accelerate. Or be able to accelerate as a result of speaking with you guys and listening to your feedback. So just wanted to say thank you basically for everyone taking the time to ask the questions and share your feedback and everything else on the Facebook groups and on the AppSumo page as well. So thank you. Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is just show you the platform, sort of the highlights, I suppose, because there's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of clever things that you can do. So I'm just going to show you the highlights, really, so that for those that are sitting on the fence, or for those that have just signed up and are wondering how best to start using the platform, you kind of feel a bit more empowered and in control of what those steps might be. So first of all, what is HeySummit, or more specifically, what is a summit? So it can feel like quite a heavy word, summit. It makes you perhaps think of conferences and other sort of slightly weightier, heavier things. And you may not have thought that a summit or a conference is something that you might have ever entertained to put on yourself prior to looking at HeySummit. But I think it's a bit of a red herring, that phrase, and it's probably more important just to think of it as a central place to bring people together of a similar sort of focus around a particular topic and sharing content. Now, the content invariably is video-based. It's about talks. It's about whatever it might be. But it's bringing people together to share that content. And as the business owner, as someone who's organizing that, you get to really be seen as a leader in that space, as a thought leader, as someone who is there bringing together that knowledge. And so just bringing in 2, 3, or 4 people speaking at an event that you're putting on, talking about a topic that is really important to your audience, is a really powerful way to show yourselves as being an authority within that industry. And so it's great from a marketing standpoint, great from an authority building standpoint, but it can also help generate revenue as well. So, and this is something we'll look at in a minute, but there are generally speaking two ways that you can set up, or two focuses that you can have when you're running a summit. And they don't have to be one or the other, they can be both. It's either just purely for traffic generation and authority building, or it's a revenue-based focus, and we can handle both of those within there. And the size of a summit doesn't really matter. It's whatever works for you. It really is just like any piece of content that you might put out there, whether it's a podcast, a blog post, a video, or a talk, or a summit, or anything else. It still comes down to the quality. If you're putting great content in front of people, then it doesn't really matter whether it's a 5-year summit or an hour one. It really doesn't matter. So if you're wondering how best to get started, really, you can put together a single day summit with 3 or 4 speakers. Doesn't have to be much more than that. And then, maybe on your second follow-up summit, you might charge for it. You might make it 2 or 3, you might make it a multi-day event. So hopefully you'll find out through watching this that it's really quite easy to get started with this. We've already had a bunch of successes. So we've got, you're looking at these logos on the screen. These are people or companies that have already spoken at summits put on through our platform. So we're already being used and trusted by a lot of amazing brands. It's just a pleasure to see. So what I'm going to do is show you now a summit. Now this is a very excitingly called a demo summit. I know it's gripping you, right? But this is all demo content. So just letting you know that when you see names here and photos, you might see a male name with a female face, etc., etc. It's literally just randomly generated. We regenerate it, once a week so that we can show people and show them what's going on. So don't be put off too much if you see something slightly weird there like that. So I'm going to show you 2 parts to this platform. The part that the attendees engage with, those are the people that are there to watch your events and watch your talks. And then I'm going to show you the back end. So the bit that you as the organizer or one of your team members will interact with to keep a track on what's going on, how many people are signing up, how much traction are you getting, what are your speakers doing, and just managing your content and everything else. So let's look at the summit here from the attendees' perspective. This is the landing page. We can look at featured talks. We've got some nice little boomph on what's going on, some nice little infographics. These are all, by the way, automatically generated for you based on your own content. So if you don't want to muck about with landing pages, we pre-generate all of this for you. But of course, you can edit it as well. There's a nice little edit button down here. We can have a little look around and see what's going on. So remember, I'm the attendee at the moment. This is kind of the hat I'm wearing. So I'm going to have a little peruse around here, see who's speaking. I can see that this guy up here has a giveaway that they're providing as part of their talk. So I'm going to click in there and see what Freddie is offering. This is his bio page. A nice little photo. We can see when his next talk is taking place. A lead capture, of course, to get someone to register. And this is their giveaway. And actually, they've got 2 talks taking place here, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to click into one of these, and I can just see a bit more about the talk that they're putting on. So this is just front end selling the summit, if you will. We build all of this for you. You literally just need to say, here's the speaker's photo, here's their title, and this is when we're going to put it on. And the rest, actually, we farm off to your speakers if you want them to. We can invite them into the platform, and they then take charge of updating their bio, the description of their talk, photos, all that sort of stuff. You can do it if you want, but it's great also knowing that you can farm that out to the actual speaker and sort of empower them and bring them closer to your brand, which is quite important as well. So this is just me looking at it, and I can check out the replays. This is an example summit that is already in process, so it's kind of got some things yet to take place and some talks that have already taken place. So we naturally then create or automatically create 2 separate sections here, one called replays, which shows you content that has already taken place. Let's just see if I've got a video in here. Oh, I need to sign up first, so I'll show you that in a second. And we can see what's coming up next. So this is the schedule. So in this example, there's a separate talk per day, but the common places that you'll have more than one on a single day, but it's completely up to you. You can decide how you want to structure that. So let's sign up as the attendee. Just have a quick look. I'll put in a horribly random email there just because I get pretty bored of making up email addresses all the time. So we're taken now into the sign up process. I can just confirm my name. And later on, you'll be able to add custom questions here so that you can really segment your audience and understand, okay, what country did they come from, or what size is their team, or whatever that lead generation question was that you might have asked. So we confirm that the T's and C's, we're all GDPR compliant, of course, and we're now asking them to choose the content that they actually care about. And that's kind of important, right? Because if you're doing a summit that is 10 talks and beyond, and it can go anywhere up to 100 and even further than that, you don't necessarily want your audience to just do a one-click registration and then therefore be invited to all of those talks, because this platform will send out reminder emails, we'll send them scheduled emails each morning of the talk just to let people know what's going on and what they're booked into. And if you have a large number of talks, you don't necessarily want them to be bombarded with emails all the time. And the reality is they're not really going to be digesting that much content or all of that content in that scenario. And so for most cases, you're going to activate the option for them to choose their own tracks, in a way, their own themes, the stuff that's important to them. It's good for the attendee, but it's really great for you as well as the organizer, because you get to learn what it is people actually care about from a topic standpoint. Which are the talks that they're actually clicking into? Which are the topics that they actually care about? So you can see now, through putting content on like this, whatever that niche is for you, or whatever that industry is for you, how you can start learning about what people actually care about in your industry, so that you can then write that follow-up blog post or create a webinar series on that particular thing later on, or maybe come back and do another summit specifically on this writing and publishing talk section here. It really does start empowering you and giving you ideas as to what you can do next. But as the attendee, I'm just going to decide that these are the three, or just choose a few more that I like. Click next, and then it recommends the talks. Based on those, I can select a selection or click add all and click next. And this is just a final confirmation that we're now booked in. But as a little viral incentive, it tells me that there are a few giveaways that these talks that I've booked into, or the speakers that I've booked into, are giving away. And if I want to be entered into the prize draw, I just need to socially share these. And we're going to be adding a lot more in this area. In fact, I was just answering an email half an hour before this webinar from someone talking about the idea of scoring and ranking, but scoring based on various things that you do, various activities, whether it's sharing, whether it's signing up to something, whatever it might be, and being given points, and then that sort of having an influence on how likely you are to win and everything else. So I know we're touching on Sumo King there, but yeah, we'll be introducing things like that, because it's a really important part. You know, you want to know that one person is coming in as an attendee, and there's a good chance that they're going to spread it out to multiple people. So that viral sort of aspect is something that we spend a lot of time thinking about. So that's me booked in. I can now view my schedule. An email has been sent to that person. That lead is obviously now linked to your summit, of course. As an attendee, I can add more content. If I want to, I can add it to my calendar. But the point is, that's now locked into my schedule, and I will be reminded whenever that talk now next takes place. So it's quite likely you will set this landing page up maybe a month or two in advance of the summit taking place. So they can kind of get on with their normal day-to-day, and they'll be reminded when the time comes. So that's the front end. In fact, before I show you the back, let me just show you what I couldn't show you before. This is just a talk page, because the landing page we looked at a minute ago for the talk page, just to show you this briefly. The page we looked at before, kind of showing you, showcasing the talk that's due to take place, transforms into more of a YouTube style page once the talk has taken place, because we need a home for the replay and for the conversation and the debate and everything else to take place. We want to help you nurture and build a community around that. And of course, beyond the summit, we want this to become a magnet from a traffic standpoint. We want to have it be a meaningful part of your organic inbound marketing strategy, and that can happen by creating these sorts of pages, so that when you have the replay uploaded, it's available here to watch. It's just a demo, of course, and people can join in the conversation. They can link out to the speaker, and that's really, really powerful. They can socially share and everything else. So let's log in now to the dashboard. So as the organizer, obviously there is a lot that you will want to manage, and it all starts from this area here. This is the dashboard. You're going to love these charts once your summit starts. to really see what sort of engagement you're getting, what sort of traction you're getting on those that are signing up. This is obviously dummy data, so you're looking at really quite haphazard fluctuations here with 4 on one day, but hopefully you'll have many, many more people signing up than that. But we can see there how many attendees there are, social shares. We can even see a breakdown of referring domains, and if you do UTM parameters and UTM campaigns for your adverts on Facebook or whatever it might be, you can track that as well and really see where that content or where that traffic, sorry, is coming from, which is really, really important. So let's just stick on the notion of reporting, just to show you a couple of other reports that we can produce for you within this, because they're quite interesting. One of them is this idea of feedback. So we provide you with the facility to raise questions or ask a single question on a daily basis. And we've intentionally built it really, really focused and simple so that it elicits a yes or no question. Really, really simple. I'm just going to set up a question to ask on today, and I'll show you an example of that. And we do that with a yes and no to really encourage people, or to make it really frictionless, I suppose, for the attendee to respond to that question. Really, really important. So let's just, in fact, let me create a new question here, because what is it, the 3rd today? So let's just say, how am I doing? And we'll say we want this shown on today's date. I'm going to make it active. And now as the attendee, if I just go to the event, remember I'm still logged in as an attendee as well. So I should now get a question popping up here. There we go. So no matter where they are in the site, and we only ask it for attendees because we want to know that it's engaged responses, not disengaged. We ask them a simple question. How am I doing? Yes or no? And it's always a yes or no, because we want to encourage responses so that you guys get really meaningful data. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here with SurveyMonkey or anything really complex or Typeform. You'll be able to link out to those as a follow-up survey after the event, should you want to. But whilst we're in the survey, we want to encourage engagement. Really, really powerful. Makes you look good, makes you look on the ball, and attendees will love you all the more for it. So we can ask the simple question, yes or no, and that's it, done. And you now, as the organizer, as we looked at a second ago, get to keep an eye on what's going on there. Oh, cool. 100% of people have said, how am I doing is good. Okay, how am I doing was not a great question because it's not a yes or no answer. Okay, slap myself in the wrist. But you can see the whole point there. You can get to see a nice little pulse of what's going on within your event, which is really, really cool. What other reports do we have? We obviously have the attendee reports, which you can export at any times. We will be adding integrations very soon, starting off with Zapier and then going out into more specific CRM-based solutions for really getting that attendee data out into your CRMs and your mail lists and everything else. But as a starting point for today, you can just export as a CSV. I know it's horribly manual, but I promise you it's right up there in our priority list. So we'll make sure we get that rolled out for you as soon as we possibly can. Any other reports that are worth showing you? Let's have a quick think. I'll come back to the reports, I think, in a bit, because there's maybe some other things that I'll show you first. Okay, so let's have a quick look at a talk, because a summit is nothing without the talk. And it can be anything from 1 talk to 100, but typically you're going to be looking at maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that sort of thing. But don't worry too much if you have fewer than that, or indeed many more. It doesn't really matter. So when we set up a talk here, we have some basic things that we want to enter here. So we're going to, let's create a talk. So my best talk. Can you tell I've lost all creativity? So I'm going to create my best talk, give it a date. So that's going to happen, let's say, end of the month. I'm going to link it to some of my categories so that people can find it nice and easily. And I won't feature on my homepage. Okay, so that's my talk in its sort of skeleton form created. I've linked it to a speaker. That is now available on the site because I made it active. And we can see how many people have registered for that particular talk. 0 so far, of course. But there's something really important I need to do now. 1, give it some descriptions. Actually know what they're getting. Just pretend I can spell. And the next thing I need to do is the video settings. So we have a few choices here, and this is something that we've tweaked already just in the last couple of days based on the feedback that we've been listening to. There are 3 ways that you can set up a video for this particular talk. Number 1, which is our default and certainly the recommended position, is to set it up with a live webinar. So a live webinar option will use one of our existing webinar integrations. and we currently work with BigMarker and Zoom, but we will be adding extra integrations soon, I promise you. So there's, Demio and Jet Webinar, and those lot are certainly on the roadmap. I can't give you exact dates today, but we're certainly in the stages of planning, and as soon as we have information on that, we'll let you know. The benefit of linking your live webinar is that you don't then have to do anything. You literally select that, choose your host. I'll show you what that is in a second. So you're basically choosing which integration you're using, and we will then keep that in sync. You don't ever have to go to Zoom or your BigMarker account. We will create that webinar on your BigMarker or Zoom account, and if you change a date or a time or a title or a description, or the speaker indeed, we will sync them with that webinar provider, and we'll also add the speaker automatically as a presenter, so you don't need to do anything. On the day of the actual talk, if you're presenting this live, you will have the available URL for you as the host to join that webinar. The speaker will be sent their URL to join as the presenter, and of course all the attendees will be sent their URLs to join as an attendee, as a participant. And that's all handled for you. And soon we'll then be doing things on the back of those webinars once they've finished, by pulling data from those webinar platforms, as well as auto adding the recording for replays and all that sort of stuff. So there is real benefit in using one of our live webinar integrations, not least because you can actually record the webinar, and that's kind of important. You don't have to have replays for your summits, but it's really kind of recommended, because otherwise you're kind of shutting off the summit once you've finished if you have no replays to show afterwards. So doing it live and recording it is a really great way. The second way to do it is the third option, ironically, which is to pre-record the content. And this is, again, a very, very common setup approach, where either you choose to, or you make it mandatory for your speakers to pre-record them, because you just don't want to have to do it live, and that's totally fine. It doesn't become a less or a better, a lesser or a better summit as a result of that. It's purely personal preference. As long as the quality and the content is good enough, it will be received well, I promise you. But also you might find within a summit, half of your speakers like pre-recorded and half want to do it live. So you can really mix and match. So with the pre-recorded, you can choose one of our existing integrations, Wistia, Vimeo, YouTube, and based on feedback from just a couple of days ago, we released VuePlayer, and we also added any other video, which basically covers you for anything else. So wherever other video that might be, just enter the URL here, whether it's an MP4 or anything else, pretty much, we will load it there. And just a little pro tip, we also support, it's not official yet, but we kind of also support rtmp as well. So you can currently use Restream. If you go in there and copy the URL for that, we will actually show it there. But it's not an official implementation that we're recommending yet, because when you're streaming I get the acronym wrong, but rtmp stream, it does require Flash in its current implementation, and it's, well, we know what Flash is like as a supported technology across the browsers, and browsers are only really getting more controlling on those Flash sort of integrations. So use it, but it's not necessarily the best one for you. But you can link any of those there, and then that will become the replay that we show. Any pre-recorded video, any pre-recorded video that you link to a talk will be treated in exactly the same way as if you selected live webinar. We will still schedule it and make it available at the date at which you set up the talk. We will let your speakers know, we will let your attendees know, and the only difference being that they will be sent to your HeySummit page to watch that video when the time arrives, versus on the live webinar option, they will be sent directly to the unique Zoom or BigMarker webinar that we set up for you. So both of those really, really powerful. The third option that we added just a couple of days ago is this custom stream URL. So literally any externally hosted URL, you can enter it here. So whether it's a clever URL that opens up a Skype call, or whether it's a Demio webinar that you've manually set up yourself, enter it here, and that is the URL that we will send out to your attendees for that particular talk. So this is a really great way of just covering all the bases, giving you that ultimate flexibility. It's not a deep integration, far from it. It doesn't do the clever stuff that we were just talking about for the live webinar integrations, where we automatically create them and we pull down data afterwards and all that sort of stuff. But at least it means that whilst we're building out, say, for example, a Demio integration, at least you can stick with your provider and use that. Yes, you have to create the webinar yourself at the Demio end, but you can add it here as well. Another reason this is really great as well is for the scenario, and we had this a bunch of times fairly recently with guys who are running summits whereby they were actually being quite compact with the frequency with which they were creating talks within a single day. And it meant basically that they were having almost zero time in between one talk and another. So within a day, they were maybe having 10 or 12 talks, and they were literally going back to front, back to front, back to front, back to front. And so in their case, they actually came to us and said, look, we don't think it makes sense to have a separate Zoom URL created for each of those, because essentially, if people want to dip in and dip out and watch, a lot of those talks, they're going to have to exit a Zoom room and open a new one. And so by being able to set up your own custom stream URL, it basically means that if you wanted to, you could have just one Zoom room or Zoom webinar or whatever destination it happens to be, enter it here, and then set that up for each of your talks within a single day, knowing that that's the same URL that people will access things in. So hopefully, with the work that we've done over the last few days, you've now got a huge amount of flexibility here. And I promise you there'll be a lot more coming in this regard. So before I go any further, how much time do I have left? Can you just give me a quick heads up? I don't want to go too deep or go on for too long, and I want to allow a bit of time for questions as well.
You're good. I mean, you could probably go on for another 15 minutes if you want.
God, do you really think people can put up with me for another 15 minutes?
I'm not sure. We do have lots of questions coming in though, but I think, if you want to continue to highlight some more features, you definitely have time to do that.
Cool. Okay. I think what I'll do is I will do that. I'll highlight a couple more, but I won't do too much more, because something I've certainly found in speaking with you guys on the AppSumo page and elsewhere, there are a lot of questions that are quite specific about payment or about handling different streams or webinar platforms or whatever. So I think there is definitely a lot of value in me taking time answering those, because then everyone else can listen to the answers, and that's good for everyone, really. So I'll try and wrap up this as soon as I can, really. There's just a couple more things I want to show you, actually. One of them is promo images. And this is something that we for those that don't know, I also run a company called Missing Letter. And we ran a summit, which is actually the genesis for creating HeySummit, the platform that you're seeing today. And we ran this last year. It was a 100-speaker strong summit. And in running that, it was very, very clear, very, very quickly, that there was no chance that we were going to create 100 promo graphics for each of our speakers manually. We would just die of boredom, quite frankly, and it would just be a waste of our time. And you know what would happen? You'd create all 100, and then you would change the title of the conference, or you would change the date or something, and you'd have to go back through every single one again and recreate them. And we definitely did not want to do that. And so right from the start, we kind of built that into the HeySummit platform that you guys can all benefit from. And it's this basic principle that we generate graphics for a multitude of purposes. One, we create them for the standard sort of OG meta tags that just sit behind in the source code of your summit pages, so that if anyone shares one of your generic pages, so your landing page or your speakers page or your schedule page, etc., then we have a standard graphic that we will share, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And if they share one of the talk pages or one of the speakers pages, we will actually share a specific graphic card based on that exact speaker. So we do it for the sort of social sharing aspect. And then also we make those graphics available to the speakers in their own speaker dashboard, so that they are made or given a really easy way and a no-brainer way to kind of just share your event with their audience, whether it's socially through their list. They've got graphics and assets ready to go, which is, again, really, really powerful. You want to make it as easy as possible for your speakers to talk about what you're doing. And so we see it very much as our role to make it easier for you, to make it easier for them, if that makes sense. So let's just show you quickly what those graphics look like. So this graphic that's loading here is the main one that we create, kind of the generic one, if you will, that we create for the summit as a whole. This is all dynamically generated based on actual content within your summit. So as you change these speakers, we randomly choose these actually, it will change. So if I just refresh the page, you'll see a different selection of speakers generated there in a different layout. And it's just a way of A, keeping it fresh. It's kind of fun to make it different each time, but also B, just to make sure that if you do change the title of the summit or change the date or add an extra speaker or change the speaker's name or whatever it might be, just the peace of mind knowing that the graphics are being created for you. And of course, they're all optimized for each social platform. Well, 2 of them in that case, but you'll see some extra social platforms in a minute. So really, really, really nice to know that that's there. We do the same, as I mentioned, for speakers. So these are the speaker cards that we create. Just give it a second for them to generate. And so these are all graphics on the fly created that are ready for you and the speakers to share, as well as being the social cards, as I said, when shared across Facebook and everything else. So these are all controllable by yourselves, all dynamic, I should say. When you change the titles and everything else, it reflects in here. If you add sponsors, I should mention, they will appear, their logos down here as well. So we kind of handle all of that for you. If you're selling a sponsorship package to your sponsor and you're charging for that, which hopefully you are, you can confidently say, okay, we will include your logo on every single graphic that our speakers share. We will include it in the social sharing images. We will have it on the bottom of every single email, and we will have it in a prime position on the landing page as well. And this is just done automatically for you by the platform. So really nice little couple of things there. Let's have a quick think if there's anything else that I can do. Let's have a think. If there's anything here. Of course, membership packages, probably quite important to talk about that. So I'll just touch on that very, very briefly. Less important thinking about it as a membership package, probably better to think of it as an all access pass. So it's worth noting that within a summit, you have the option to charge for it or not, or do something in between. And that's totally up to you. When we did our missing letter one a year ago, we just from the start knew that it was going to be a free thing. We were never going to charge for it. It was a pure marketing inbound sort of play. But we've had customers who, and it's very common, of course, to charge for these. In fact, there was a customer a few months ago that ran a summit and charged, and made around $100,000, just above that actually, in just a couple of weeks through selling all access passes through our platform. So there is good money to be made here. But again, for me, or from a personal standpoint, it comes from the quality of the content first. So get that right, get the right speakers talking about the right things. And then if you charge for that, that's absolutely fine in my experience, and can be done really well. So you have a lot of options here, and we'll be adding even more moving into the future. So you can decide, for example, and a common way of doing this is to say, well, look, it's free for the first couple of days while the summit is running, but then maybe, on day 3, our VIP pass kicks in, and then it's all locked and put behind a paywall, and you then need to pay, or sign up to a plan to then get access to that content. And you can do that. You can even have it change over time. So you might say, well, if it's free for the first 2 days, it's then $49 for the next week after that, but then a week after that, it goes up to $99, so that you're incentivizing people to grab it while it's hot. So we can create a VIP package. Let's say, and I'm going to say it's 49. Let's do the exact scenario I was just talking about. And let's say this is available from, let's say, the 3rd until the 6th. And I'm going to create another one that then becomes $99. And then we've got some predefined ones here. You can just say post-event. So after the event, let's make this even simpler. I'm going to get rid of the dates in there. And just do it, because we've got some pre-built sort of date ranges, if you will. So I'm going to say during event, it's $49. Post-event, so once the event has finished, the last talk has taken place, it's going to go up to $99. And this is a really good point about summits. It's not just about the time at which you're putting on the summit, it's what happens afterwards. So if you look at this $99 bracket here, this is the price that people are going to have to pay to access all of your content once the conference is finished. And if you keep this open for the next year or two, and if you send some traffic to it, or if people start sharing it, and depending on the nature of your industry and how your communities generally work, this could become a really meaningful source of revenue as time goes on. So there's a lot of opportunity here to play around with these sorts of things. Cool. Okay, I think I've hopefully covered some real basics here, and yeah, I think probably it's going to be a good idea to switch over to the questions, because I'm sure there are a bunch of things that I've either said and that is confusing, or that just naturally has arisen as I've been talking. So yeah, let's see if we can get those answered.
Awesome.
What should I do? Should I stop my screen so I don't get this weird inception thing?
Let's stop. Yeah, why don't you stop screen sharing now? And in the event that you have to share your screen to answer a question, you can do that then. But yes, take a drink of water. You've been talking for quite some time now. All right, so yeah, I've got lots of questions for you, and hopefully we will be able to get through most of them today. So let's see, Rick is asking, when the user signs up for the summit, can they be sent to a web page with multiple videos instead of a single video link area?
So I think what you're asking there is, so the way the summit's set up at the moment is that you have a separate landing page per talk. And I think what you're talking about there is maybe grouping videos together, kind of almost creating pre-bundled selections or collections of videos. The short answer is no, you can't do that today, but it's something that we've actually had a bunch of people ask about, and I think it would be stupid for us not to listen to that. So I think you'll see that coming quite soon.
All right. And we have another question. Does the summit days only run concurrent, or can they be set up like once a week?
Yeah, totally. Great question. We're actually doing something similar for Missing Letter, where we've turned our summit or a summit into an evergreen summit, which basically means it's not an evergreen in some of those more sort of hacky webinar sort of scenarios where it kind of just auto loops and it's just the same webinar repeated to give the impression it's live and everything else. This in HeySummit, an evergreen summit, is one that doesn't have an end date and just kind of you can't stop it, of course, if you decide that you don't want to do it anymore. But until you do that, it just continues to go on. And so the way we're doing it is we're doing exactly that. We are releasing a new talk every couple of weeks, and so that's really powerful because one of the perceptions of putting on a summit is that it requires a lot of thought, and I can't release it until I've got at least 20 speakers or anything else. The beauty of an evergreen summit is that you can just start off with one or even just two talks and have one booked in for next week and another one booked in for the week after, and just let people know that when they sign up that you're going to be dripping out and releasing new live talks or pre-recorded, however you want to do it, every few weeks. You don't even have to be specific about every 2 weeks. You can say every few weeks. And the benefit of that is that each time you release a new talk, you're compounding the attendees that are signing up from the previous week. So they are signed up to the overall summit. So you're announcing the next talk to, your amassed collection of attendees. Really, really powerful. And a stupidly long answer, so I apologize for that.
No, but very thorough. That's great. Suzanne would like to know, is there a limit on how many talks you can have on a summit?
No, so you're not restricted at all based on the number of speakers or talks. So you could have a speaker do multiple talks or one-to-one, but you're not restricted on that at all.
Okay. Are there SMTP settings so the emails can come from our domain and not HeySummit?
No, but there will be. We're looking into it to find out, to look at the best way. I mean, ultimately, the reason why we haven't done it straight away is that obviously it's very important that we feel confident that when we do remind your speakers and your attendees that we can be confident that they are being delivered properly and that there's proper mechanisms to retry if something fails. So we just want to make sure that we apply the right approach. So no promises right this second, but we obviously do understand that you guys want to have some personalization there. So we're looking at different ways.
Okay, perfect. And how about, can we customize these categories? Can they customize the categories that the attendees can?
Absolutely. You can create your own categories. In fact, you should, because the default ones are not probably going to be the right ones for you. You can choose a particular icon for it as well, or a custom one, depending on how you want to do that.
Okay, and Mark is saying, just verifying that the limit is 2,500 attendees per summit?
Yes, if you go for the base sort of no stacking, then it's 2,500 attendees.
Okay, perfect. And actually, so Ben, I did this in the chat box while you were doing your demo. So I just want to reference, guys. I have put a 10% coupon in the offers box, so you can use that on HeySummit if you haven't purchased it, or if you already have purchased it, you can use the 10% off anything else today. It lasts until 11 o'clock tonight. So when you click on that link, the coupon code is automatically added to your cart. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because I see some questions coming in. And unfortunately, yes, but unfortunately you cannot stack it with your plus 10% discount. So two discounts can't be combined, unfortunately. But for those of you, you can also take advantage of the 10% who are not plus members. All right. So with that said, let's get back to more questions. Let's see. I think you mentioned something about viral sharing options that are going to be implemented. Could you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So when I showed you signing up as an attendee, that final step, by default, will give attendees the option to share socially, and we track that when they do that, or the intent to do that. And if your speakers or you as the organizer have set up giveaways, then that's the incentive for them to virally share, and they'll be entered automatically into the giveaway. What we'll be doing beyond that, that's what we have today. What we'll be doing beyond that is scoring and creating points for various things, and creating deeper integrations kind of through an API as well for those that want to go that further, so that let's say, for example, you want as an incentive for someone to sign up to your book or sign up to your software company or do a trial with something off HeySummit. We'll be creating a webhook type API thing soon so that you can tell us when someone's done that, kind of like a pixel tracking type of thing, so that we can genuinely incentivize people to do that thing on your website, even if it might be like 5 steps removed, so that they read that and then we'll know about that and then they'll be entered into the prize draw. So lots of things like that, but that's kind of just the start.
Okay, that's exciting stuff. Let's see, Rob would like to know, where is the replay video stored, and do we need Vimeo, or is there a file size or time limit? Cool,
great question. So today we don't do self-hosting of videos at all. It's a decision that we took early on that there are many hosting providers out there with lots of clever things that do overlays and do sort of closed captioned, and we're not going to try and compete with those guys. And so, hopefully you've got one of choice. Our job, therefore, is to make sure that we integrate with all the various wonderful video hosting providers out there. So today you can link your Vimeo, Wistia, or YouTube, and also VooPlayer. And if none of those work, you can simply provide the URL to wherever that is hosted, whether it's on S3, whether it's on your own website, whatever it is, and we will then embed that within a player on the talk page itself. So as long as it's a video URL, we will embed it for you. So no worries there.
Okay, good. And William would like to know, can we change the book my place text on the registration button?
Do you know what? I think you can't actually today, but we obviously it would be stupid to deny you that. So it will come very soon, I promise you.
Okay, and Fatima has a question. Can you still sell all access passes with increasing prices with HeySummit?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think that's what I showed you before. So go back and have a look at that if you want to have a little glimpse of that. But yes, you can do exactly that. Okay, and Brent would like to know, is there a place to get trained on all this stuff? Yeah, really great question, because it's so 2 things that have come out from this deal and listening to you guys. And one of them is that we are in the process of putting on, it's early stages, but hopefully it won't take too long to put together a summit on summits, which is a bit meta, I know, but we're looking to bring in some real experts from across the industry to really show you guys how to put on a kick-ass summit. And so we're going to be doing that summit on summits, kind of eating our own dog food, but also just teaching you guys how to get the most out of this. That will, we'll announce that when we have more details, but perhaps in a number of weeks down the line. More closely, or more before that, I should say, we're looking at doing, and possibly even starting from next week, doing a daily live webinar hosted on our platform, of course, just teaching you guys how to do certain things and kind of treating it as like an open session. So we may well be doing that every day whilst the rest of this deal takes place. So we'll see whether there's an appetite for that. If there is, actually, just pop a note down there and I'll hopefully see it. By the way, is the most recent comment at the top or at the bottom?
It's at the top.
Okay, so I keep scrolling down, but I need to be at the top.
Yeah, no, the most recent comments are at the top. Okay. It's a little unlike the other platforms you may have used. All right, here's a great question. If we use a service like Zoom for a live webinar, do the attendee limits of that provider apply to our summit?
Yes, absolutely. Well, not to the summit, but they do apply to the live webinar, that you're conducting through Zoom. So yes, if you're doing that, let me give you an example. When we did our Missing Letter one last year, we had, now we promoted it maybe 2 or 3 weeks before it went live. So not a huge amount of time to promote it. We ended up getting about 3,500 attendees. So a good sort of average sort of starting point, good, but not too bad, not too good, just somewhere in the middle. And we were also sort of like, how many live attendees do we think we're going to get? And how many do we need to accommodate for through Zoom? And so we just, for that 1 month that we were putting it on, we upped to, I think it was 500 live attendees. We actually never had any more than like 150 or something. So we never needed that. But it was nice to know that A, we had the capacity, but B, we just were doing it for 1 month. So it was a very, very low cost when you consider that, the nature of a summit is generating revenue or certainly traffic and awareness. But yeah, you do need to bear that in mind. But I think what you'll find is that the percentages are very much reduced compared to the overall sign-up count, maybe in the 20 or 30%. The most or the majority will watch it on the replays. Okay, good to know. We've had lots of questions about different languages. Yes, it is on its way. We're in some deep planning at the moment. It's one of those horrible things. We have to start somewhere, and it makes sense to kind of start in our own language. Otherwise, well, I wouldn't know what we were creating otherwise. So we do English pretty well, but we know that there are many more languages out there, and we absolutely are committed to getting them out there. We will be sharing next week a kind of like a document, if you will, explaining our rationale and what our strategy is there and how we're going to be approaching it, so that you guys can kind of see what we're doing and how we're approaching it, and then obviously we'll share further details on our roadmap and beyond that. But yeah, it's going to be starting very soon.
Awesome. Happy to hear that. Sean would like to know, do you have a Zapier integration?
No, that's the very next thing we'll be doing actually in terms of integrations. We'll be starting off with Zapier because that's kind of just a catch-all sort of thing again, covers lots of different scenarios. And then once we've done that, we'll be listening carefully to find out what the next more sort of specific CRM or email marketing platform integration should be. So we'll take it from there, but Zapier is the first one.
Okay. And Adela would like to know, is this only for video summits or does it work for audio summits too?
Interesting. I actually haven't had that asked yet. So yeah, very interesting. There is no reason why you couldn't. I mean, in the same way that you could have an audio video on YouTube, you could do exactly the same here. So that would be the default position, I suppose, if you wanted to just use it as we currently have it today. I'd love to understand a bit more of your use case, and maybe we can do something more specific that specifically caters to audio in the future. But today, think of it like a YouTube effect where you would, still be a video, but just in audio form.
Okay. Can we use YouTube Live instead of a webinar platform?
You can't yet. Actually, you can. You can integrate the link. What you can't do yet is embed it, but we will be adding that very soon. So yes, just assume that will be done within the next 5 days, I think, for sure.
Okay, so Mark is saying, for the summit itself, are attendees directed to a HeySummit window, or they're directed to your Zoom or YouTube, wherever you're streaming?
That depends on the integration. So as I was showing you before, when you select for your talk, whether it's either a live webinar, pre-recorded, or an external stream. An external stream, we'll send them to whatever that link is, and that's down to you. The pre-recorded video, they get sent straight to the talk page on the HeySummit, because obviously the video we already have, and we'll put it in a player on that page. The live webinar will go straight to whatever that webinar platform is, so the Big Marker webinar or the Zoom webinar, etc.
Okay, so in terms of attendee limits, does an attendee count as someone who registers or someone who actually views the video or the summit? Yeah,
it's at the point of registration. So if they're a visitor, no. Once they've registered, yes.
They're attending. Great, gotcha. And Donna would like to know, how do you handle keeping track of the email addresses coming in from the affiliates?
So pretty standard setup there. I should have mentioned actually in the demo there that yes, we have an inbuilt affiliate platform as well, and you can set the payout percentage. You can share your form, the sign up form for your attendees. You can either have that be publicly available for the link, promoting your affiliate scheme, or you can turn that off so you're sharing it only with those that you want to be affiliates. You can decide. But yeah, it's a standard sort of thing. They get a special URL. They share that with their lists, and then we store a cookie for I think it's 60 days. And then any sort of purchase that person makes is then attributed to that affiliate. You have a report that you can see, and if you're on our professional plan, which is the one that you guys get by default through the AppSumo deal, then we handle all that payment sort of worry for you, and then we'll pay out to both you and the affiliate at the end of each month.
Okay, good. So I know that you said HeySummit does not do video hosting, but so when the summit is over, what parts of the ended summit are still in HeySummit?
So everything is still within HeySummit. The only difference being that so if I show you my screen very quickly, let's see if that works. Let me know when that's loaded.
Yes, we can see it.
Cool. Okay, so this is the replay section. So these are talks that have already taken place. I'm going to click into this one here, and as the organizer, I've uploaded or added the replay video. Usually we'll have a holding graphic there for you. I'm not sure quite why it's not on this one. So this is now the destination. This is the place that this talk now exists once the summit has finished, or certainly once the talk is finished. So you get to watch the video directly in here. So we keep them all within your environment, which is nice. So yeah, that's kind of what we do with that. Now, with the integrations we do, I should mention actually with Big Marker, we're actually just working on something that will automatically pull down the recording from Big Marker and add it as the replay without even touching anything. So that will be automatically handled for you more and more if you go down the webinar integration route.
Okay. Hold on, I'm just writing some more questions here. Let's see. First, Chris is asking, do you have a way for us to attach downloadable worksheets for particular speaker presentations?
No, not yet, but we do definitely plan to add that, just additional resources. Already the speaker can add URLs, so a URL to their Amazon page, to their website, to their social accounts. They can add offers as well, or freebie, which links out to a PDF or something like that. So you can kind of already do it, but yeah, I totally understand what you're saying there, and we need to do more in that area, so you will see that. Okay,
Nicole would like to know, is there a waiting ability with an automated feature to invite the person on the waiting list when someone drops off?
Oh, interesting. Do you mean in the case where you've exceeded your attendee count, I wonder?
Probably,
no,
yeah.
there isn't at this stage. In that scenario, by the way, we'll email you ahead of schedule, if we can, of course, depending on how quickly that attendee count goes up, letting you know that you're getting close, and you'll have a couple of options. Either if you don't do anything, we'll turn off registrations, but we don't want you to do that. We want to make it super easy for you to just boost your attendee count. So we have these add-ons that we'll be releasing very soon that will let you do just that, and they can be added and taken away as you wish, and they are incredibly cheap. They're not sort of, we're not talking Zoom sort of levels where an extra 100 attendees costs you 500 quid or something silly. We're talking sort of in the $5-10 mark for an extra 2,000 or 3,000 or something like that. So you'll have, hopefully, you'll never be in that position.
Okay, good. Let's see. Kim says, when you say 0 transaction fees, what exactly do you mean by that? So there are no transaction fees from HeySummit, but Stripe will still take a transaction fee, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So worth mentioning that the middle tier is the tier that you guys come into by default through this AppSumo deal. And with that, there's a 1.5% transaction fee, and any payment that is handled or taken through the summit that you put on, if you charge for it, is handled by us. And for that, we take a 1.5% transaction fee ourselves. There is, of course, also a card processing fee, which if anyone knows how to get rid of that, you've made $1 million, many more than that. Stripe will have their own, of course. With the business plan, which is our top tier, we're actually offering that as a bonus based on some feedback that we had. There's a bunch of things on there that we've heard a lot of people want. So it's usually $249 for a month or per month. We're making it available for just $10 a month, but that runs out in a few days. We're doing that for just the first 7 days. If you go on that plan, then that's when you get the 0% transaction fees. And the reason for that is, well, you can either integrate your own Stripe account and in the future additional carts. And I saw someone mention ThriveCart. We'll be looking to integrate with them and other carts in the future. Custom carts will be limited to the business plan. And even if we do take payments on your behalf, if you're on the business plan, then we won't charge you a transaction fee simply because you're on that plan. So that's where that 0% comes into play. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you for clarifying that. There were several questions about the transaction fee, so thank you for doing that. And so just to verify, there are no limits on the number of replay viewers, correct?
Correct, yep.
Okay, great. And Liz would like to know, can you do different commission rates for different affiliates?
Great question. No, you can't actually today. But I'd certainly love to, hear a bit more, and maybe we can have a chat offline. But yeah, you can't today. You said you can change the rate, and you can do it per summit. So if you do multiple summits, you can have different rates for different summits, but you can't yet override it. But yeah, I think perhaps that would make sense to do, and I'll give that some thought. I'll talk to the team.
Okay, good. And it looks like there's still a little bit of confusion about what the business plan is. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about what that includes.
Cool. Okay, let me share my screen again, just because it's a little bit easier to see.
Sure.
Let's see if it works. 1 second. I'm impressed. People have stayed around for a long.
They have.
I'm impressed.
Very interested.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so when you log in, and you'll get an email about this as well, we have an AppSumo upgrade button here, and basically, we're making the business plan available, a special version, an AppSumo version, because let me just show you what the actual business plan is. Let's just go to super clear. So we have 3 tiers by default, or for the general public, I should say, but not the general public or special people. So we have the basic, professional, and business. The AppSumo deal, you get the professional plan. pretty much just with a slightly reduced attendee count. The business plan usually goes for 249, and you get all of these things. Because you can get many of these capacity additions through the stacking facilities within the AppSumo deal, we obviously don't make these available as part of the business deal that we're doing. So if you need any, unlimited hosts or more attendees or more active events or more team members, then the only place you can get that from whilst this deal is running is the AppSumo stacking option. So just worth noting that if you think you want to bake in future proofing for attendees, stacking is just hopefully a no-brainer. It's a one-off cost and just boosts you in those sorts of areas. The business plan that we've created, therefore, takes into account the zero transaction fees, or gives you the zero transaction fees. You can use your own Stripe account. You can use your own payment cards, and this particular feature is coming soon. But whenever we add a new card, it will only be on the business plan. And priority support, and of course, any new feature we add to the business plan, you will get. And because the business plan is literally the biggest plan we do, that basically means you get literally any feature we add in the future, just by default. It's worth noting though that if you don't do that, and it's not something that everyone should do necessarily, the professional plan is still an incredible package. And I think because it's the middle tier, people have asked, can we guarantee what's going to be included on there and what's not? I think the way of, obviously we don't know what we'll be doing, in 6 months' time, but the reality, just being honest here, is that almost any feature that comes in, 9 times out of 10 is going to start off either at basic, which means you get it on the professional, or it's going to start off on the professional. So you're going to get 9 times out of 10, you're going to get any new feature that we release. There are just 1 or 2 features every now and again that will be restricted to the business that are just a bit more technically involved. So, for example, we're thinking of rolling out a more advanced API and some webhooks and everything else, which is just really specific to a particular type of use case where you want to do more customizations, where you want custom carts rather than us handling it for you. In those types of situations, there will be features that we will only make available on the business, but pretty much everything else you'll get on the professional. So if you're worried about being squeezed out of features or anything else, that's just not our game. Hopefully for those that have used one of our products before, that's not what we do. We genuinely love you guys and want to sort of have you be successful. The more you are, the more we are, and everything else. So back to the business plan. Those are the things you get, and obviously any quotas that you've got in terms of attendees or events or anything else through the AppSumo deal obviously carry through to the business plan. But as an extra bonus, we will give you an extra 1,000 attendees per stacked code that you get. And if you go all 5 stacked codes, so in theory, that will give you 4,000 extra attendees, we'll actually bump it up to 7,500 so that your total attendee count for the business plan, if you upgrade to it, and if you've done all 5 stacking codes, will be a full 20,000 attendees. So you've got an opportunity to really max those things out. And it's a few people have asked as well, what happens if you cancel this later on? So 2 things happen. One, it's really important to note that this is not an offer that you'll be able to do twice. It's not sustainable for us to offer this at this price indefinitely for anyone that signs up later. So this is something that we're doing literally just now. If you want it, that's fantastic. We'd love to have you join us. But if you cancel it in 3 or 4 months, you don't get the opportunity to take it up again. But most importantly, if you cancel, you of course have your AppSumo plan to fall back on. That is yours. We're not ever going to sort of, I've had a few people do naughty things there. That's absolutely not in our interests. So yeah, hopefully it's there for those that want it. If you have any other questions, just let me know. But another typical long answer from me. Sorry about that.
Sure, no, that's good. So, but on the Sean is asking on the business plan, can they pay yearly or they have to pay the $10 a month?
For now, it's monthly. We may release an annual option at some point, but for now, it's a monthly affair.
Okay, and Chris is asking, if we get the business plan upgrade, will we get all future upgrades?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, good. And Sean is asking, how long for us to get paid when you handle the transactions? So
we pay out at the end of the month, and we may introduce on the business plan a more frequent schedule where every 3 days or 5 days or something like that is achieved. Certainly love to know whether people care about that. Probably now that I've asked it, or say yes. Yeah, we may create a more frequent payout as an option.
Okay, and Christian is asking, please go over the business plan $10 a month thing one more time. This says, I asked one of your people in the questions area and they said it was 7 days from purchase, but you just made it sound like the $10 a month deal was going away in a couple of days. So,
okay. Yeah, the screen I was sharing was my screen. It is based, you were right. I think that's Christian answering there. So fortunately, our support team did give you the correct information there. It is 7 days from the point at which you purchase your code. The screen you were looking at there was based on when I fake purchased it. It'd be silly of me to purchase my own code, wouldn't it? But we have to test things, I suppose. I only had 3 days left on mine, but everyone has their own 7 days. So don't worry about that.
Okay, awesome. And guys, we are out of time. We have hit the 1 hour mark. Ben, why don't you let them know where they could get a hold of you if they have future questions after this webinar?
Cool. So there are a few places. Obviously on the AppSumo page, I'm hunting it down and just sort of stalking it there and hopefully giving you guys some good responses. We've got the help shelf widget, which I think is on the bottom right. It was on the left one day, but I think it's on the right again now.
We moved it.
What we are doing is really important, this actually, because lots of people are asking repeated questions, which is natural. But when we see common questions, we're actually adding FAQs to the help shelf widget. So you can search in there. So just use a single term like payment or affiliates or whatever, and you'll hopefully see some common questions that we're answering. We also have the support widget on the site itself, and we've got a support team that can help you. That is genuinely the best place to be as well. So yeah, hopefully a few options there.
Awesome, good. And so I want to remind you guys that you can save 10% until 11:59 p.m. Central Time tonight. If you haven't already used it, don't worry. I'm going to put the link in the replay email, which should go out in about 2 hours. That gives me time to download and re-upload the webinar replay, but it will be in your inbox later this afternoon. Plenty of time for you to be able to use that discount code. So thank you again for tuning in. Ben, you did a marvelous job, of course. And everyone seemed very excited about HeySummit, as they should be. So guys, we'll see you again next time and have a good weekend.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Right.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers. Take care.